Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beat Podcast, brought to you by Health. I'm excited to be with an outstanding guest today. His name is Kyle MK. He is a senior talent strategy advisor at Indeed. I'm pumped to have him on. He's a best-selling author, and he really focuses on helping employers build work environments that remove friction between people and their best work, which we all know is a huge opportunity in healthcare. So I'm excited to have him on the podcast here. Kyle, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Likewise. And so, Kyle, what did you think of the conference, man? How did everything go for you guys?
This is my first time going, and man, it is such a massive conference. I go to maybe 6 to 8 conferences a year or so, and that was definitely the largest one that I've been to this year so far. Such a significant amount of people that it takes to run the healthcare industry, and it's just so cool to see them all in the same room and watch them communicate with one another. So I'm definitely looking forward to coming back.
I love it, brother. I love it. That's great, man. And so, look, tell us a little bit. I think most people know Indeed, but talk to us about the company, your work, and its relevance in the healthcare space.
Indeed has historically been known as, it's been the world's largest job site for a couple decades now. But over the last maybe 5 to 10 years or so, we've slowly transitioned into being the best matching algorithm to hook people up with long-term relationships between employees and employers. My role there is really unique. There's only 10 folks around the world that do what I do. And so I'm the one that's in the US. And as a talent strategy advisor, it's my job to understand as much as one can about the labor market, everything that's going on and what folks think is going to happen next. And then I'm talking to employers every single day about their biggest struggles and what their goals are, and helping them understand what job seekers are looking for and their next employment opportunity. And it's a very interesting job, as you can imagine. There's lots of different types of employers out there who have lots of different types of values. But the one thing that they all have in common is that they rely on human beings who have thoughts, feelings. There's stereotypes out there, there's emotions. There's a lot of things to consider. And I'm very lucky to help represent those employees and those job seekers when I'm in those rooms.
Yeah, I think your perspective is really interesting, Kyle, and your book, folks, if you haven't read it, The Economics of Emotion, How to Build a Business Everyone Will Love. Kyle digs into brands like Apple, Disney, Ritz-Carlton. Fascinating work. And look, we could learn a lot from other industries inside of healthcare and how we manage our talent. And I think that's why it's so relevant to have Kyle's voice in the room here today. As you think about this concept of the economics of emotion, what's really driving burnout in healthcare today, Kyle? And what are we still getting wrong about how to fix it?
For a little bit of context, Indeed sees about 4.5 million healthcare job seekers every month, which puts us in a pretty unique role to understand what they value and what they're looking for. And we do this study every year that we call the Pulse of Healthcare. And in fact, our 2025 study is coming out on November 13th.
So is it? Cool, man. Maybe we can link it up here.
I would love that. I think it'd be very helpful because it helps both job seekers, employees, and employers understand where we're sitting. But the biggest drivers of burnout, at least today, one of them that you probably imagine is that just feeling overworked and responsible for way too many things during their shift. Many folks have said that they just don't even have enough tools to do the job in the first place. So that's the number one contributor to burnout. But then followed by that, it's actually feeling underappreciated by their manager or supervisor. And that's a really fascinating.
No, that's a big one.
That's a huge one. Yeah, and you don't see that in a lot of other industries, actually. Like, you'll see overworking often being a main driver of burnout, or inflexibility of scheduling, or any harsh deadlines, those types of things. But feeling underappreciated is unique to the healthcare industry. And I think it's really wonderful to see, because when you look at what drives satisfaction in healthcare, employees tell us that it's the relationships that they build with their patients and their coworkers and their managers. So the fact that a poor relationship with their manager is actually a big driver of them feeling apathetic towards the role. I just love that. It just means that these are people with big hearts and they're not receiving the love that they are giving to the role. or to the job.
And a lot of times too, like the leaders are burned out. And it's like, how do you fill someone's cup if yours is empty? And that's a challenge, right? That's a big challenge.
Yeah, of course. Leaders are employees too. And so it keeps going. That keeps going up the ladder, right? So that tells you that senior leadership, really, one of my favorite phrases is fish rot from the head, right? So if you've got a senior leader that isn't very empathetic towards the position of their employees, they are, by example, showing how their leaders should lead their teams and so on and so forth. It really puts a lot of responsibility on those senior leaders to showcase how we live out our values on a day-to-day basis. And this is how we take care of one another.
Well said, man. I love that. And so you've said that retention in healthcare starts before day one. I want to get back to that. What does that look like in practice?
The primary thing that we think about right now is that retention really is the new form of recruitment in healthcare. What that means is as we take care of our employees internally, that message starts to spread outside of just our four walls. Their friends and family members will hear how well they're doing and how much they're thriving at work. They're telling their former classmates or friends in the industry, I really love my job. You should definitely work here. But then we think about how do those stories make it to job seekers who maybe don't have a personal connection? And this is where we think that starting off with something as simple as being transparent about the work environment in a job ad is really important to job seekers nowadays because they don't want to just get a job at a company that has basic benefits and a basic work environment. They are looking for a holistic, positive experience with an employer from the moment that they apply all the way through having tenure with the company or maybe even retiring. So, yeah, what this looks like is having a truly authentic, truly transparent understanding of what that role would look like from the moment that they search for the job all the way up to the first day. Most employers don't do that. If you look at a job ad or if you look at company page on like Glassdoor, it does not speak to the truth of the environment. And what that does is it sets improper expectations for those job seekers. And when they finally get the job, they end up churning within the first year or 2 years because what they were sold on is not necessarily what they were given.
Yeah, well said. If we could retain our employees, that's the new recruiting.
Yeah.
Love this perspective in a big way and setting the right expectations, being realistic about them. If you could change one thing about how healthcare organizations think about their people, what would it be?
The way that I like to describe a business is that it really is nothing more than just a community of people who've decided to work together towards a common cause, whether that be a mission, and they do that using shared values. So if there's one thing that I want to change about how healthcare organizations think about their people is just think about it as a community. They're not cogs in a machine. And so what that means from a community standpoint is that we need to put belonging and inclusion as the primary drivers of well-being for healthcare, which we know from our data, those are the primary drivers of well-being for healthcare workers. But if we're not taking care of our own people in the same way that they're taking care of their patients, then they will be unable to take care of their patients at the same level of service that we come to expect. And we've seen that 140,000 nurses leave the workforce between 2022 and 2024. And more than 40% has said that they plan to leave before 2029. So if we've got a majority of nurses that are saying, I want to leave or I plan to leave my current work environment, that's a really big deal. Like we're headed straight towards a talent crisis. But if employees or employers thought of their folks as a community, we don't want people to leave our community. We want to take care of them. We want to give them what they need in order to be successful. And I think it's a small little shift, treating folks maybe as cogs in a machine of we need them to fill these shifts and have this much productivity and serve these many patients, and think of it more of this is a human being who's living and breathing that has their own sets of needs. And unless those needs are met, they are unable to meet the needs of the patients that we're here to take care of. That's why I love healthcare so much, is it is a community of people taking care of their own community in a very special and much needed way.
I like that lens for sure. Look, you guys are giving a lot of thought to this. 4.5 million jobs posts and seekers per month is no low volume. So I think as healthcare organizations grapple with the challenges of recruitment and retention, I feel like Indeed brings, and you, Kyle, and Indeed bring a valuable voice. We're excited to see what comes up with this new survey that you guys come up with. So be sure to share that with us. If anybody wants to learn more about you and the work that Indeed does in healthcare, where can they go check that out?
I think maybe the easiest way is if you're an employer and you'd like to learn more, you can just Google Indeed Pulse of Healthcare. And if you're a job seeker or you're an employee and you'd like to learn a little bit more about how Indeed helps create career paths, that's just search for Indeed Careers in Care.
Love it. Well, there you have it, folks. Kyle MK from Indeed with us, really paving the way on some interesting thinking around employee retention, recruitment in healthcare. Check out the survey. It's in the show notes. If you're hearing this, the episode is now live and you'll have access to that survey where you could get some insights. And don't stop there. Look them up and learn more. Kyle, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.